Ladies and gentlemen, we will continue with our next session, which is the ASEAN-Republic of Korea. Please remain in the venue as we will now prepare the stage for the panelists, for the panel discussions. Chairing this session is Mr. Meidyatama Suryodiningrat. He is the chief editor of the Jakarta Post. And the panelist for this morning is Baek Sung-Kwan, Executive Vice President of POSCO, Jai Boom Park, Vice President, ASEAN Indo Marketing and Sales Division of Hankook Tire Company Limited, Kwang Yokpek, Korindo Group Advisor, and Yonkide Sugiarto, President Director of PT Hyundai Indonesia Motor.
Could I have your attention, please? Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to start session. Thank you. Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Meidyatama Suryodiningrat. I am the editor of the Jakarta Post, the newspaper, I hope, which has kept you, or most of you, company this morning. I am honored to be in Bali this morning to chair the session on ASEAN and Korea business relations. As you know, ASEAN has had a long history of relations with East Asia. With Japan, our relationship has gone back for many, many decades. It is one of the region's biggest investors and traditional partners. With China, of course, with its big market, everyone talks about China. But over the last 2 to 3 decades, I think Korea has slowly and significantly emerged as one of the major investors in this region and trading partners also. And thus, I think it's very important that this morning we have 4 very distinguished speakers talking about how to deepen, widen, and strengthen this relationship. This morning, I am honored to have, first of all, is Mr. Baek Sung-Kwan, who is Executive Vice President of POSCO. He will be followed by Mr. J.B. Park, who is Vice President of ASEAN Indo Marketing and Sales Division of Hankook Tire Company. And then third is Pak Yongki Sugiarto, who is Indonesian, but he is President Director of PT Hyundai Indonesian Motors. And then to cap off the discussions will be Pak Baek, Pak Kwang Yokpek, who is also very familiar with Indonesia from Korindo Group Advisor. Before I start, there are generally several issues that we would like to look at. One of them, of course, is what are the impediments towards deepening this relationship further? Are EPAs and FTAs simply enough to deepen integration in the future? The second, of course, is what are the major priorities? Of course, our capacities, especially within ASEAN, are limited. Are there priority areas in which we should focus on? And then, in relation to what the UN Secretary General said this morning, is how can the business sector contribute towards sustainable growth? And sustainable growth here means trying to widen the net and the participation of business to include small and medium enterprises and better employment terms for everyone in the region. So I will start off with these 3 themed questions. I would give the speakers about 10 minutes each. Baek Sung-Kwan, please, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. As just been introduced by Moderator, I am Baek Sung-Kwan as Executive Vice President of POSCO. I'd like to introduce POSCO and myself shortly. POSCO is the 3rd biggest steel industry company, and this year POSCO will produce 36 million tons of steel. If I say that the production of the Indonesia this year will be around 7 to 8 million tons. So you can imagine that the capacity of 36 million tons of POSCO. And for the competitiveness of the quality of the steel, POSCO is the #1 and the leader of the steel business. And I'd like to introduce myself shortly. I worked more than 31 years in POSCO, and in recently 6 years I was in the role of the foreign investment for the steel. So I traveled more than 30 countries, including Africa, Middle East, and Southern America, almost all the ASEAN countries. So I'd like to deliver my experience of these 30 questions from the moderator. But I'd like to, I'm a little bit afraid because just after the Secretary General of the Mr. Ban, I cannot catch up his knowledge and I cannot catch up his English even. But I will do my best to deliver my experience to you. Please encourage us, these four speakers. As you know that recently the IMF chairwoman, Christine, she also expressed her concern that the global economy situation will bring 10 years loss of low economy growth and high unemployment. And she stressed that international cooperation to overcome this situation is very necessary. So under this situation, I think it's very meaningful and timely work that today ASEAN and surrounding countries are sitting together to discuss about how to solve this problem and how to enhance investment and trade among these countries. As you know that we had a very difficult time in 1997 when the financial crisis hit the ASEAN countries, including Korea. Many companies are collapsed and the foreign exchange rate was booming. So as my knowledge that at that time the Korea growth was -7%, but fortunately in the process of overcoming this situation, Korea and ASEAN countries has improved the policy effectiveness and has further enhanced the economy basement. So when the financial crisis hit many countries in 2008, the ASEAN country, including Korea, can record more stable economic growth compared to the other country in the world. So according to the IMF report, in this kind of the vortex of global economy instability, ASEAN economic growth recorded a positive growth of 1.7% in 2009, and this year more than 5.3% is expected. So the ASEAN potential growth has made the world pay much attention on the region nowadays. I think the reason why the ASEAN's potential growth is the young manpower, abundance of the manpower and the natural resource of this region, and the effort for the growth of the income by the people, and also the proactive government commitment toward the openness. As a result, many global companies are increasing their investment in this region. After the year 2000, the average annual increase rate in FDI into this ASEAN region is almost 11 to 14%. Is the second largest increase after India. So POSCO has already understand this ASEAN growth power. So we invest in ASEAN area from 1990. Started in Vietnam with the galvanized steel plant. And we also invest in Myanmar and also in Malaysia and Thailand and many countries. And recently, we started the building of the integrated steel mill, which is the first case in ASEAN country which use iron ore, not the scrap. And we invest almost $6 billion to produce 6 million tons with the cooperation of the Indonesian very admirable steel company, PT Krakatau Steel. And we had a very good relationship with the Krakatau Steel and the POSCO to build this very huge enterprise. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Pasaro Bujang as the president of the CEO of the PT Krakatau Steel. He is a good cooperation with the POSCO and Krakatau Steel. I think it's the kind of the symbol of the Korean investment in Indonesia, and we will have a good result in the future. As my opinion, the growth of the steel industry as the national backbone industry is highly important for the continuous economic growth of ASEAN. As you know, all the advanced economy countries, mostly in the past, were countries with strong steel industries. Because steel industry has high effect on the associated industry, not only the economic growth through the development of the associated industry, such as construction, automobile, electric apparatus, shipbuilding industries, but it also provides to these industries with high quality material and contribute to the trade balance through the improvement of industry competitiveness. In this very meaningful opportunity, based on my know-how as who has a long field experience in steel business and foreign investment in POSCO, I'd like to give some suggestions to solve challenges for the sustainable growth and the competitiveness of steel industry in ASEAN region. At first, I'd like to stress on that the ASEAN country should expand the supply capacity and enhance the competitiveness. Due to the shortage of the steel industry production, every year, ASEAN countries are importing 40 to 50 million tons of steel. And in the future, this amount of figure will be enlarged because of demand of the steel is rapidly increased. It can be overcome through expanding the steel supply quantity by cooperation with the advanced steel company to provide the usual industries such as automobile, shipbuilding, with a quality and competitiveness price steel. So to speak, the virtuous cycle structure of steel supply and the demand. Good infrastructure, such as a port, electrical power, and the efficient logistics system for transportation of the raw materials and the final product is also very important in this industry. According to the report by World Bank on the investment environment, the most pointed out as investment obstacle in ASEAN region are high logistic costs and the difficulties due to the lack of infrastructure. So I suggest that to build infrastructure and logistic infrastructure is very important to investment. And also the improvement of the system and the incentives are required for the swift management stability of the envisaged business. As I traveled many countries like China and Brazil and many other countries have the good system for the foreign direct investment. Many ASEAN countries also has those kind of incentives, but some countries still needs the allurement of the investment from foreign country.
You have 2 more minutes, please.
Yes. And next, I'd like to give my message for the small, medium enterprise. That is really the highlight of my message, because POSCO has almost 65 individual programs to support small, medium enterprise. If I say this 65 individual program as three categories, one is that technical support, and the second one is the selling and the purchasing cooperation, and the third one is training and consulting program. I'd like to give just a short introduction of this three category. First is the program for the share of the POSCO patent and also POSCO intellectual property. We share this, our POSCO patent and the intellectual property, with the SME. And also we give the financial support on technical cost of production development cost of the SME. And second, some of the program are purchasing and the selling cooperation program. Performance sharing scheme, where the performance is charged through improvement, support overseas business for outstanding SMEs, operating contract with ensure the proper profit. And third one is that to improve the human capability and the management of the SME, POSCO are operating training and consulting program. We promote the activities such as the in-class and the e-learning program. And also the board member of the POSCO directly participate in training for the next management generation of the SMEs. So all these activities is now on focus in Korea itself. But from now on, POSCO are making so-called POSCO Southeast Asia SME Win-in Cooperation Program. With this program, POSCO and the POSCO family will promote proper program for the cooperation with the SME in this region. If you search that the website of the POSCO, all these 65 individual program is detailedly explained, and you can find that what is the idea of the POSCOs to win-win of the big enterprise and small medium enterprise.
Time is up, sir.
Yeah, finally, I would like to finish my presentation with the hope that my today's discussion can contribute a little bit for the ASEAN countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like next to immediately call on J.B. Park to do his presentation, please, for 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. I'm really glad to be here today. And my name is J.B. Park, and I'm the Vice President of Hankook Tire. Maybe Hankook Tire is not familiar with you because we don't have a strong presence in this market. But we are one of the major global tire manufacturing company. And we are #1 in Korea, and the #3 in the Asian market, and the #7 in the global market. Currently, we are building a plant in Indonesia, in Cikarang area, Bekasi, and in the suburb of Jakarta. And we are going through the first phase of our construction. Finally, we are going to invest over $1.2 billion in Indonesia until 2018. Now, the moderator raised 3 questions, and firstly, I'm talking about why are Hankook Tire investing in Indonesia and in ASEAN countries amid this global economic turmoil and crisis, and what's my opinion on the future of future prospects of ASEAN community. So I think that most of you know where the global economy is in danger, global economy is at risk, and it is getting into the period of stagnation. And if you look at the situation, current situation, unlike other previous economic events during the past decades, this current crisis was originated from and coming from the leading axis of global economy, United States and Europe, not from the emerging countries. And so it is very serious to the world, the global economy right now. And thereby, the fears of and the ghost of global recession appears on the horizon. I don't know much details about what's going on and where the global economy is heading to, but I think it is certain that the global economy will be staying in a danger zone for the time being, and it will take some time to get out of this trouble. And so the moderator asked me, amid this, in the middle of these economic difficulties, why are you investing in ASEAN countries? I think it's very natural to ask like that. I agree with the moderator's opinion, and but I also think that the world economy will be gloomy for the time being, and the current economic crisis of the United States and Europe will be transferred to the other nations, and it is likely to spreading out to the rest of the world. However, we think this time is investing in ASEAN countries at this moment is the right decision making. First of all, many economists just say that
dynamic business organization and excellent human resources development, wide business diversification, product as market leader and strong network, strong profitability and healthy balance sheet, and good corporate governance. I think I would touch a very short about the automotive business. Japan as driving partner of ASEAN, since Astra business is majority in the automotive business. We can see the total world production of four-wheeler car in the year 2010 reached almost 78 million units. And then Toyota Group is the largest vehicle production in the world with 11% contribution to the world total production. And over 28% of world vehicle produced is by the Japan brand. And if we can, next slide, you can see that the ASEAN now is the biggest fourth export market from the Japan vehicle export. And in the last 5 years, Japan vehicle biggest export in ASEAN are Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore. And we understand that in the last 10 years, Japan vehicle export to ASEAN market dropped by its successfully industrialization in ASEAN. And we also understand that by average in the last 5 years, Japan auto market is declined 3% per year, while Asian auto market growing positively 5%, Indonesia especially 15% per year. So it's showing that the auto industry is very important in ASEAN for the Japan. And we can see from the chart of the car ownership ratio per 10,000 people and versus with the GDP per capita, we can see that there is a lot of opportunity for this automotive industry to grow in ASEAN. With a positive growth of GDP per capita, Asian auto market has a big opportunity to increase. And then there is also sharing about the Asian motorcycle market. In the year 2010 reached almost 11 million. And there is also opportunity to grow in the future. So the other things I would like to share is that the growth of the four-wheeler and two-wheeler market bring the opportunity for the component industry to grow. This is can also bring a lot of opportunity for the small and medium enterprise. From the 155 member of the Automotive Component Industry Association, 69 is a Japanese joint ventures company. So I conclude my presentation is that the ASEAN-Japan has a strategic relationship as a business partner. For ASEAN, total trade with Japan is highest 3. For Japan as well as number 3. And then intra-Asian connectivity, its potential market, then availability of resources are strength point for future investment. I think in the next for enhanced private sector business partnership, the government need to strengthen the interconnectivity between Asian countries, provide infrastructure, route, port and electricity, promote high productivity human resources and peaceful industrial relation, and provide conducive and fair regulation. And then I think from the private sector role, we need to build strong capability to explore market opportunity and build win-win long-term cooperation to promote ASEAN as production base for regional or global market. Thank you.
Thank you. I think members of the audience will agree that this is a very good example of what I would call a successful smart partnership between the foreign investor like Japan and how it has successfully worked. And I think now I want to move to a different.
Even ASEAN nations will be affected by the slowdown and downturn of the developed countries, the United States and European countries. But I am sure that the ASEAN nations' economy will be comparatively resilient to the current economic downturn compared to the rest of the world. And at least the ASEAN economy is relatively less hurt than other regions. That's why we continue investing in Indonesia and ASEAN countries amid this current economic turmoil. The other reason is that business enterprises tend to look at the economy from the long-term perspective. Actually, we are facing a lot of difficulties right now. The management environment surrounding business enterprises is very challenging and demanding. And a lot of uncertainties are ahead of us. Business enterprises naturally tend to avoid uncertainty. We prefer certainty with a lower return rather than uncertainty with higher return. But we should prepare for the future when the economy is going through the rainy season. If we can see the booming economy in the near future, we will be paid back from our taking risk activity. In this context, I think now is the right time to invest in ASEAN countries, and ASEAN is the right place to enter. And the next one, opinion on the future of the ASEAN economy. In conclusion, I think the future of the ASEAN economy looks very promising, looks very promising. I am working in the automobile-related sector, and in the automobile sector, the motorization is very important. One of the most important factors in that field. And if you look at the speed of motorization in ASEAN countries, it is much bigger than what we expected before. So I am seeing the future of ASEAN very bright. Now let me more elaborate on the ASEAN's attractiveness from the foreign investors' viewpoint. When business enterprises invest in one place, they are considering the investment for two different purposes. One is for manufacturing. That means that investing in one area to establish a manufacturing base with low labor cost, and then we can get a cost competitiveness advantage compared to others, and then producing the products from the plant and exporting those products to the Western countries, the developed countries. It was a stereotype in the emerging market. And on the other hand, companies are investing in market where the demand looks promising.
Yeah, 2 more minutes, Mike.
2 more minutes? Okay. So my point is, before ASEAN nations were considered as a manufacturing base and with a low labor cost, but it has changed a lot. It has become, the ASEAN nations are competing with both low labor cost and high quality and high productive talents in the market. In addition to this, ASEAN countries looks very attractive. And I want to summarize the most important point in my presentation. I think in order to attract more investors from abroad, the ASEAN countries should have 3 points. First one is the ASEAN government should prepare a single window to support the foreign investor activity across the whole process of investment. And the people who are working for the investors should be talented, high professional, globalized, and passionate personnel. And it will influence the first impression of foreign investors, and it will decide the success or failure of the project. And the second point is the economic development depends on how well the infrastructure is set up. So I think the ASEAN government should make a proactive effort in investing in basic infrastructure such as road, electricity, water, housing, and finance. And then more and more foreign investors will come and find the ASEAN nations to be attractive and invest in ASEAN nations. And finally, the ASEAN region have been primarily focused on export. But I think in order to avoid this economic turbulence in the future, ASEAN nations should have focused on domestic consumption and intra-regional consumption instead of primarily focusing on the export to the Western, to the developed countries as before. And let me point out the last question about the small and medium-sized company. Even in Korea, small and medium-sized company, the issue of a small and medium-sized company is very important because small and medium-sized company have a larger effect on the economy, especially in job creation and private consumption. So we know very well the importance of nurturing small and medium-sized company. So during our construction plant in Indonesia and our daily operation afterwards, we are going to use the local small and medium-sized company to the maximum. And of course, we are going to help to foster the capabilities of a small and medium-sized company, both in Indonesia and in the neighboring countries, in the ASEAN countries nearby. So finally, I'd like to finalize my presentation. Through our investment in Indonesia, I expect to have a positive impact on not only Indonesia, but also the entire ASEAN region. And I'm sure our investment in ASEAN region will go on further, and Hankook Tire can grow together with the ASEAN nations and its people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Park. We've had two very knowledgeable speakers looking from outside of ASEAN with certain suggestions pointing out the need for infrastructure, how its lack of it is creating high costs, very clear proposals about a single window and how it should be staffed by very passionate, high-quality people, focus on domestic consumption and so on. And we've also looked at two experiences in how these two companies engage with SMEs. The tables are slightly turned for our next speaker with Pak Yongki Sugiarto, who is Indonesian, but who is the Chief Representative, President Director of Hyundai Indonesia Motor. So I think it's a very different and interesting perspective that we will look forward to. You have 10 minutes, Pak.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Yongki Sugiarto. I'm the President Director of PT Hyundai Indonesia Motor. We are working closely together with Hyundai Motor Company Korea since the last 16 years. Try to market the vehicles in the country. We do have a assembly plant as well in Indonesia. We have introduced the first ever Korean car in the country in 1995. Maybe I should elaborate a little bit in regard to the automotive sector from this point of view. Currently, the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement is very well used by the investors, especially Japanese companies who are working very hard in the ASEAN region. We do have as well a so-called ASEAN-Korea FTA. However, the rules and regulations are not similar like the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement. Therefore, the Korean automotive industry as well as the automotive component industry could not make use of the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement because Korea is not a member of ASEAN. So therefore, Korea industry, especially I'm talking about automotive industry, are having a, if I may say, a big disadvantage to enter the market in ASEAN. The ASEAN-Korea FTA will last or will go further in 2020 further. Then by that time, maybe ASEAN product will be more easy to enter the market in ASEAN. However, we should always not forget that the production cost in Korea itself is increasing year by year. And I believe that the Korean industry must look for another investment or production spot. I was personally 6 years long the chairman of the Korea Committee in the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce. During that time, I was trying to convince, to emphasize the Korean industries, including the SMEs, to come to ASEAN, especially, of course, Indonesia, where the market is huge, very huge, and the labor cost is still cheaper than Korea, compared to Korea. And now the result here, two of my colleagues, POSCO has decided to invest in Indonesia, $6 billion US dollar. Next to me, Mr. Park confirmed or also invest 1.2 billion in Indonesia. I think this is a sign that ASEAN, Indonesia is a very attractive spots for Korean industry. Those are the giant industries in Korea. However, the SMEs in Korea, there are thousands of SMEs in Korea. They also have to go out from Korea, have to invest in ASEAN countries. First of all, I believe before they decide where to invest, they would like to see the domestic market. Indonesia is the biggest population in ASEAN with 237 million people. But altogether, ASEAN population is, I believe, 500 million, which is a huge market for ASEAN industries, ASEAN SMEs as well. We are talking about automotive, back to automotive shortly. Korean automotive will not be able to get more market share in ASEAN countries unless, jokingly, as Korea become a member of ASEAN, which is very unlikely maybe. Or the other side, they have to invest in one of the ASEAN countries, and they can then make use of the so-called ASEAN Free Trade Agreement. Not waiting until the ASEAN FTA, ASEAN-Korea FTA is in place, because currently they are still having a lot of differentiation of tariff. The automotive in ASEAN is currently every year about 2.5 million cars. I believe in 5 years' time it's going to be 3 million cars. If Korean companies would like to take just 10% market share, it's going to be already 200,000-300,000 cars in ASEAN. So that is really a place where I believe ASEAN, Indonesia, is a place where Korean companies have to look very carefully and very strongly recommended to go into the investment of Indonesia or ASEAN especially. I believe that this is a very short elaboration about Korea, Indonesia, Korea, ASEAN investments. And I do hope that we could be able to convince also not the big companies in Korea, but also the SMEs. Yeah. The SMEs need, what Mr. Park just said, need more assistance. How to enter the market or how to enter the countries to invest over there. The big companies, right, the Korean big companies, they do have already representative offices in ASEAN countries. They have hundreds of employees, local employees as well. They know they can look for business opportunities, investment opportunities in the said countries, in ASEAN countries. However, the SMEs, those are the companies who we have to attract them, we have to convince them, and we have to help them and assist them to enter the countries in ASEAN. And we have to assist them by via maybe the embassies, maybe the coordinating board of investment, BKPM, and so on. And that is maybe one of my suggestions. My last word is only ASEAN is a huge country, very potential, and it is really too good to be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Yongki, for your very succinct presentation. I think it's a very important point that you raised, that it's not just going to be conglomerates in the future, but also Korean SMEs that need to invest outside of the country. Last but definitely not least, we have Mr. Baek, Mr. Kwang Yul Baek, who is the Corindo Group Advisor. And Mr. Baek is someone who is very familiar with Indonesia, since he is also the advisor to the House of our regional, the Indonesian regional representatives on climate change and carbon policy. Mr. Baek, you have 10 minutes.
Thank you. Terima kasih Pak Meidyatama. Selamat datang. Nama saya Baek Kwang Yul. Saya dari grup Corindo. Saya advisor untuk DPD Indonesia. Before I get into this very complex equation of dealing with or combining Europe, the US, Korea, and sustainable development along with international trade, let me say a few words about Korindo. We established our operation in Indonesia in 1969, and now after 42 years, we are into newsprint, forest, automobile assembly, something that you know very well, the plantations, palm oil, wind tower manufacturing, plywood, insurance, pipe coating, real estate development. Not unlike other Korean business groups, we do many things. And we have 30,000 employees. So to say that we have some understanding of Southeast Asia or Indonesia, and to say that we have been somewhat marginally successful would be an understatement. And in fact, we supply newsprint to Kompas, the biggest paper in Indonesia, but we don't supply to Jakarta Post for some reason. Perhaps we can discuss about that later. And to give you some magnitude or perspective on the magnitude of our operation, we have 1.2 million hectares of forest under management. And in one of our plantations in Kalimantan, Korindo Tiga Hutan, or Korindo Plantation number 3, that's 100,000 hectares. And 100,000 hectares means 30 kilometers by 30 kilometers. And in that area, Korindo, we had to build the road that's 4,000 kilometers. So that's the kind of operation that we do. Today, I want to talk about this one particular commodity that is crucial to the development of a Korean economy, to the development of a global economy. At the same time, Indonesia and ASEAN has more than 2/3 of the global supply of this commodity. And that's more than the rest of the world combined. And at the same time, because of some political maneuvering in Europe, Europe is not going to import this commodity into Europe until 2020. There is some other mechanism called the fund structure that looks at this from somewhat different perspectives, but that's to say that they don't want to treat it as a marketable, tradable commodity. In the US, Mr. Obama wants to import this commodity badly, but his efforts are being blocked by Republican senators and members of Congress. Only Japan is actively pursuing this commodity through a bilateral mechanism that they have established with Indonesia, with Vietnam, with the Philippines, with Cambodia, Laos, and whatnot. Indonesia by itself has about 2 billion tons of this particular commodity. And saya bicara tentang hutan karbon. Of course, I'm talking about forest carbon, or RED, known as RED means reducing emission from degradation of forest and reduction, deforestation. And Korea, on the other hand, absolutely, positively, unquestionably, undeniably in dire, desperate need of this particular commodity, or carbon. Because Korea last year emitted 600 million tons, or to be precise, 590 million tons, which makes Korea the 7th biggest emitter in the world. Its rate of increase is something like 130%, again, the fastest among the OECD nations. So Korea cannot go on emitting the kind of carbon dioxide that it is emitting. But we have this perfect equation, perfect supply-demand between ASEAN apparatus, which can supply this particular commodity, which can be consumed or imported into Korea. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that Korea wants to reduce emission by 10%. That's 60 million tons. So let's make another hypothetical example. Let's say there's a Korean company that is responsible for 5% of our national emission. That's not far-fetched, because there are 2 companies in Korea that are responsible for more than 10% of the emission, of the national emission. One of them being KEPCO, a Korea Electric Power Company, that is single-handedly responsible for something like 20% of emission. So if this company has 5% obligation, then it has to reduce 5% of 60 million tons, which makes it 3 million tons. If they want to do it domestically, because of this paradoxical, unjust, but logical question, which is the more efficient you are in technology, the more expensive it will be to reduce emission. Because if you are as efficient as you are, then there is not much room, as I'm sure the POSCO understands and Hanguk understands. So quantitative studies indicate that it'll cost between $150 to $500 per ton of reduction. It can go all the way up to $1,000 per ton of reduction. That's very expensive. But right now, red, well, forest carbon is being traded around between 5 and say $10. So let's say $8. So this particular company responsible for 5% of the emission. That's what? 5 times 3 million tons. So if this company uses Indonesian red, it can do it for $24 million. If it does domestically, that's completely different universe. So my point is that if Korea and ASEAN can establish apparatus, the structure, mechanism to trade this particular commodity, it will help protect the environment in Asian countries. It will be trade revenue for Asian countries, while Korea can reduce the transactional cost of reducing emission greatly, also helps protect the environment of the ASEAN. And at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, this can and will be the floodgate that will open the ASEAN exportation of this particular commodity. So if there is no other mechanism that can combine, as I stated at the very beginning, combine Europe, North America, ASEAN, Korea, sustainable development, trade, if this is not the structure, then I don't know what is. Thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Mr. Baek. I think you still have a few minutes, so I'd just like to go back to you. What are the apparatuses that are currently available for trade in this carbon issue? I mean, it's something that I think a lot of us are interested in, don't know much about.
The Kyoto regime that has been governing this universe comes to an end next year, December 31st. And after that, nobody knows what will happen. So what's been happening, as I understand, after tomorrow, there's a meeting among, as you probably know, East Asian Summit. That's Korea, Japan, and China. 3 presidents, 2 presidents and 1 prime minister, will make a joint statement which says, to answer your question, which says that Korea and China will support the bilateral mechanism that Japan, or government of Japan has proposed. That is, there's a ministry called METI in Japan, Ministry of Economy, Industry and Trade, that has been spearheading this bilateral trading structure. And it had signed the agreement with the governments of many countries, as I argued. So, to answer your question, if the government of Korea and the member states of ASEAN can establish a mechanism, trading mechanism, and official recognition of this commodity, that will open the transactions.
Yes. Please, if you could do it in 1 minute.
Just 1 minute. Let me briefly introduce my experience on during our investment in Indonesia, very briefly. And actually, we started this project in July last year, and we contacted the Indonesian government, our counterpart, Baek PM, and others. And at that time, I did have some different perspectives on Indonesian government. But during our project, it was changed a lot, fully changed. Actually, as I said earlier, the single window, acquiring single window during for foreign investment, and having a very talented and very good person for contacting the foreign investment is the most important factor to attract more investment from abroad. So during our project, it was finished, for the first phase of planning, it was completed within just 6 months. And within just 6 months, we completed the contract, whole kind of contract to purchase land and to be provided the electricity and other kinds of negotiations to be engaged in. And so during our project, I was entirely impressed by the enthusiasm and the professionalism of Indonesian government. And I'd like to, for the time being, I strongly recommend the other Korean companies to invest in Indonesia because the process is very fast and the government support is fully changed. So I'd like to tell you about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one edit for him that it's quite true, but maybe POSCO and Krakatoa still paved the road to this situation because POSCO and Krakatoa still pay more 3 years to make this kind of the Indonesian government single windows and the incentives and the tax incentives and Japan. So from now on, maybe the other Korean company or the ASEAN company is very easy to enter in Indonesia. That's all.
That's very encouraging to hear. Thank you very much. We have just under 10 minutes. I will open the session to 2 questions, please, because immediately we have another session after that. So I hear a gentleman in the front, and then one more question. Do I see any hands raised? No. Sir, if you'd like to identify yourself, and please keep your question short, please.
Thank you. Again, my name is Dewa Gede Murah Swasta. Just call me Pak Dewa from Majelis Utama Desa Pekraman, Bali. I was so taught also with our Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, yes, that the business is not solely about money, not solely about business, but also about responsibility. Talking about relationship business between Korea, South Korea and Indonesia, I viewing as one thing that we are facing now also in Bali, maybe in Jakarta. Yeah, there is a dilemmatic problem between business and environment and also culture, because often people greedy, maybe myself also greedy. You know, on the road now, on the road is a lot of cars, a lot of vehicle, cars and motorbike. Yeah, and this cause a traffic jam and environment effect so much. This also will disturb our culture, maybe tourism and so on. This dilemmatic problem in Jakarta as well. So, and the bad thing is Balinese already blame the tourism. It's actually, that's wrong. Absolutely, that's wrong. That's not tourism. That's because all of us greedy, maybe. That's, I would like to know from all of you, what's the way out between, that's the dilemmatic problem between business goal and environment or culture, especially our culture in Bali, and how to way out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pak Dewa. I think another way to address that question is also how do you balance your responsibilities towards your environment, social responsibilities, and your shareholders?
I will answer the first, because we, POSCO and Krakatoa Steel, invest huge steel mills in the Cilegon, nearby the 1 hour from the Jakarta. And for the environment matter, we will invest almost 10% of our invested money is solely used for the safety and the environment matter. So for the environment matter, we are very convinced that there will not any environment problem from the steel mills. And for the cultures, POSCO people and the POSCO family is educated for 3 days in Korea before coming to Indonesia about the culture of the Islam and about the culture of the Indonesia. Especially Cilegon area is very strong and very faithful of the Islam. So we know that. And some of our POSCO people already have a mind to get into the Islam religion also, to have the common belief with the Indonesian people. And almost of our people already can speak Indonesian to communicate with the Indonesian people. And also for the localization of our company, we recruit more than 70% of the employees from our local province, Banten province and the Cilegon city. So this kind of the CSR, also we will do the CSR, maybe many diversify the CSR for the local people. So from now on, POSCO has the mind that the most admirable the industry company with the POSCO and the crowd style. That is our vision. So please keep on thinking that. Thank you.
Okay, let me make it short answer to this one. In the philosophy, company philosophy of Hankook Tire, we put the people first, and we are considering the safety of a customer and the quality of a product the first. So we are going to contribute to this ASEAN region and the Indonesian society through delivering very quality and very safety products and with other kind of CSR activities. So first of all, we are building very environmentally friendly the plant in Cikarang region. So it will be the exemplary case for the green plant in the society. And furthermore, we want to be we're going to make a closer friend with the Indonesian society. So I truly hope to be an admired company in the Indonesian society in the near future. Thank you.
Maybe to answer Pak Dewa question or statement, I do not agree if people say that traffic jam in Jakarta or in Denpasar today is caused of too many cars or too many motorcycles. I believe that traffic jam is nowadays common, but to solve this problem, you have to look into especially traffic management, especially mass transportation, building roads, infrastructures. You cannot just simply say we stop the industry of automotive because it is too crowded in the cities, because the impact will be huge. Not only the first tier, but the second tier, the third tier of the industry of automotive are going to be to suffer. In the sense of the technology itself, I believe every brand in the world today is building cars with a very, very low pollution. Even in Europe, in America, in other countries, they reach already so-called Euro 5, Euro 6. Or in Indonesia, we still have cars based on standard emission of Euro 2, because we do not have the correct fuel for it. But I believe that the industry like POSCO, like just now Hankook Tire and Corindo Group as well, they are looking forward to have a green environment, that is for sure. The automotive industry itself, we do go into the green industry as well. So don't worry about it. To avoid traffic jams, to avoid get less pollution in the cities like Jakarta or Denpasar and any other countries, any other cities in the world, in the ASEAN, we have to go more into the traffic management system, discipline, infrastructures, and so on. I think that is our comment from the automotive sector. Thank you.
Mr. Baek, you have the last minute.
Thank you. Often in the past, environment was viewed as a cost to the business. There's misleading thought or ideology that environment and business or profit maximization are mutually exclusive. Last 10, 20 years, the thinking has changed a great deal. They need not be mutually exclusive. In fact, environment can be more profitable. I can give you a concrete example that Corinth has undertaken. We are in the process of building 2 biomass power plants in Kalimantan for our chip mill. We could have chosen coal, like everybody else, which is cheaper, but we have decided to use bark, which comes from the wood waste. And these 2 7.3 megawatt power generators, they use the waste, absolute waste. At the same time, I'm excited to tell you that we were able to sell carbon that we saved from those biomass generation to NEFCO, which is the government of Norway and Finland. So not only did we clean up the air in Kalimantan, but also we made substantive amount of monetary gains. That perhaps is the way to go. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Thank you. As someone who lives in Jakarta would know that we often use traffic as an excuse for being fashionably late. But here in Bali, I can say, and in this session, that we have ending quite punctually on time for the next session. So I'm afraid we don't have any time. I apologize. We have to go to the next session. So I would like to ask the floor for a round of applause for our wonderful, wonderful panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, panelists. Before you step down from the stage, we'd like to present you with a token of appreciation. And I'd like to invite Pak Subronto Laras to come forward and give the token of appreciation to our panelists and also our chairman. Please stay on stage. Let us take a moment for a photo session. We'll have a photo session just for a minute. Very well, thank you very much.